ahead.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon, February 7th. It's 103 right now. We're looking at temperatures outside. A balmy 30 degrees with a southwest wind at 9.
Yeah, turn my mic on.
Hey, your mic has been on.
Not a bad afternoon.
Not at all. Hey, what'd you go for the 3-degree guarantee today?
33, I believe.
Oh, well, you're in there right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm not worried about it. Not today.
You think we're going to hit 37?
That I might be worried about. I don't think anybody's going to complain if we do. I don't think we'll quite get that high.
No, I think maybe mid-30s. I don't think we'll break into the uppers, but
nice afternoon.
Regardless, beautiful out there.
Man.
Bridgette, are you enjoying this beautiful day? It looks like you're inside.
Well, I'm inside for now, but I was going to tell the two of you, I'll be right back and see you tomorrow because it does sound just lovely out there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, we were just kind of dinking around in the weather studio before the show, and we were, out of curiosity, looking at what the soil temperatures are. And do you know what 2 to 4 inches down, how cold the soil is? You want to take a guess or a stab at it?
Cold, because it's probably at 0. I mean, I would think it's frozen underneath there. So wouldn't it have to still be quite chilly?
It's like 25 to 30 degrees.
Warmer than I thought. So the snow was quite the insulating factor, is what you're saying.
It really
exactly.
is.
And that's good because when we go to melt off this snow, that frost depth is not that deep, so a lot of this should be able to sink in.
Yeah, once you get to about based on the end-on sites, I think it was once you hit about 10 inches down, most of the valley and area was just about 32 degrees, give or take a couple.
Mm-hmm. Which is excellent because we do want folks to be able to take that moisture in. You know, after we had our summers of 21 and 22, it's a bit dry in the soil profile. Mm-hmm. Folks would take some of that moisture. Now, the further north you go in the Red River Valley, I do have some growers up there who said they were fine. They are not at a concern for moisture right now. But overall, this snow melt, if it comes nice and slow, that's going to be a positive for pretty much everybody. I don't think we'll turn it down right now.
Right. And it doesn't matter how much we pile on top of this with the snow insulation. And we will have another Arctic outbreak here before the end of the month, probably right around mid-month or shortly after mid-month. It should not get too much colder than it actually is. So that's good news there. And Bridgette, how do you feel about a 2-foot snowfall later this month?
Okay, hold on. Here or where I'm traveling to next week? Because I've got some questions about that.
Where are you traveling next week?
I'll be in Indianapolis. So does that mean the city's going to shut down due to snowfall because I'm there?
Are you flying or driving?
Flying, unless it's going to shut down and I can't do anything anyway, and then I won't even go.
Well, we'll hint on that here shortly. I put an article up on our website. So, did I link that to our Weather and Ag? And I did not. We'll have to. I'll go back in the office here when we hit our commercials and log that on or link that onto our Weather and Ag and Focus.
You're making fans out there talking about this snow.
Yeah, right.
You know what our listeners are thinking, though.
Not again. Yeah, right. Exactly. So. I am going to go link that article onto our Weather and Ag and Focus on our Facebook page, and it goes to show you how you never want to put forecast totals on a storm that's over a week out. How does between 4 and 25 inches sound? Is that crazy?
I think we should expand it a little bit more.
Yeah.
How about in between just model runs? From yesterday to today.
That's what I'm talking about.
GFS.
Yeah.
Especially up in Grand Forks.
Yeah, Grand Forks went from 28 inches to under an inch. I mean, that's why you don't use
your long-range computer
models and try and put snowfall amounts as far out in advance. But we'll have more on that and a couple other weather topics when we come back.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. President Biden is set to deliver his second State of the Union address this evening in the House chamber. ABC White House correspondent Karen Travers has a preview.
President Biden said Monday he wants to use his State of the Union address tonight to talk to the American people, to give them an update on what's going on.
What I'm looking forward to
working on from this point on what we've done and just have a conversation with the American people.
The White House tells me the president's been heavily engaged in the writing process, and there will be tweaks made up until the last minute. Karine Jean-Pierre says that when Americans hear the speech, there will be no question it's a Joe Biden State of the Union. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
A recent ABC News Washington Post poll showed that 4 in 10 Americans feel their finances are worse off now than they were right after President Biden got elected. ABC's Alexis Christoforous with more on inflation that is still historically high.
We had the American Rescue Plan, which was basically giving Americans money to go out and spend and juice the economy, but they were doing it at a time when supplies were very low. So that actually made prices higher. So I don't think it's as grim as a lot of Americans are making the economy out to be, but I don't think it's the flawless economy that Biden will be touting tonight.
Search teams and emergency aid are pouring in to Turkey and Syria following this week's magnitude 7.8 earthquake and more than 100 aftershocks. ABC's Ibtisam Genfood is in Istanbul with more.
It is snowing. When it's raining, it's that type of rain that really chills the bone, and you have to imagine that rescuers are finding it really difficult not only to work in these conditions, but to keep hope alive, that you might find survivors that make it through the rough hours in the cold, in the rain.
The death toll is more than 5,000, with more than 25,000 injured. The American Gaming Association forecasts a record 50 million Americans will bet on this year's Super Bowl. 1 in 5 people expected to place a bet on either the Chiefs or the Eagles on Sunday. You're listening to ABC News.
Inside a dimly lit room at the LBJ Library in Austin, Texas, a motion sensor triggers a recording, and a voice fills the room.
Suddenly, there was a sharp, loud report. A shot.
It's the voice of Lady Bird Johnson, the wife of Lyndon Johnson.
He wants to get out. There is no way out.
Lady Bird recorded her entire experience in the White House, hours and hours of tape that almost no one has ever heard. And those tapes, they end up rewriting history. This is a story about one of the most influential members of the administration, even if we never knew it.
I wrote out for Lyndon about a 9-page analysis of what I thought his situation was.
From Best Case Studios and ABC Audio, listen to In Plain Sight, Lady Bird Johnson. Available now wherever you listen to podcasts.
News Talk Radio 970 WDAY. Hi, meteorologist Justin Storm. Every afternoon, my forecasts let you know how the afternoon weather is going to go and that all-important ride home from work. In all 4 seasons, that's the reason you listen. Weather changes fast, and I'll give you the current conditions as well as what the evening will look like so you can make decisions on the plans you've made. Don't forget Weather and Ag Radio every day at 1 p.m. right here on WDAY.
Independence means everything to the people with intellectual and developmental disabilities that Red River Human Services supports. It's the foundation of their mission, the emotion in their work, and the reason they exist. Your gift on Giving Hearts Day creates independence and brings joy and dignity beyond measure to the people Red River Human Services supports. Please consider a gift on February 9th. Visit givingheartsday.org and search Red River Human Services.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. 112 right now. Again, temperatures outside Fargo. Oh my, I just love saying it. 30 degrees. It's 30 degrees outside. It is a beautiful afternoon. Sunny skies, light wind. Get out there and enjoy it. And if you got fun outdoor activities planned today, give us a call. Share with us. Let us know what you're doing. 701-293-9000. That's also the studio line. You'll call with any questions or comments, or if you want to join in on the conversation, or if you want to ask our guest questions that'll be joining us here in our next segment. That's Dan and Craig from Air Seeder Parts up in Grand Forks. It'll be a fun conversation with them to get behind the technology of air seeders, what it is that they're doing, their business up there, and so much more. And again, call in with a question if you have one, or if you maybe do business with them and you're a happy customer, let them know right here on the radio, 701-293-9000. Now, Dean's still away. He's uploading that article onto the Weather and Ag Facebook page, and that's where you can watch us, where we live stream daily, as well as on YouTube Live and our YouTube channel, Weather and Ag in Focus, where you can go back and get all the little snippets and shorts and our full interviews with all the commercial breaks snipped out of there so you don't have to listen to those. But, Bridgette, Why don't we go and touch on an ag topic here, because there was one yesterday I wanted to get to, and we didn't quite have time because we had so many fun conversations that were going on.
Fun conversations, but every time you guys start in on some conspiracy theory, I sort of want to just be like, okay, I'm going to hang up now. Yeah. So let's try to keep that at a minimum today, please. You're wearing on my ability to stay sane.
Well, we don't have any tinfoil in the forecast today, Bridgette. I'll tell you that one. But
all right, what you got?
This was one. There's groups that are filing suits against WOTUS. What is WOTUS? What are these suits?
Okay. Well, let's start with what's WOTUS, and that is Waters of the United States. This all started back in the 70s with the Clean Water Act, with the EPA. And since that time, it's been hotly disputed from time to time when it comes to what are the actual definitions. So let's think about this from a farmer's perspective. The way the more tightly defined waters of the U.S. came about, it also said that if you're a farmer, you couldn't drain fields if there was water standing on them. It was considered draining a wetland. You had trouble in some cases with bridges that may have been washed out by flooding. You would have to have approvals from Army Corps of Engineers and all sorts of other government agencies in order to get those accesses back to some of your fields. Also, it has changed if you're a landowner with stock ponds for livestock, what constitutes a navigable river. Some streams that only run at the time when you have significant rainfall, does that really count as it drains towards a tributary? All of these definitions have been up in the air. But what it comes down to is Waters of the U.S. had gone from being very restrictive in the Obama administration to more open in Trump, now being a bit more restrictive in Biden's. Because of that, there are a number of groups, National Cattlemen's, American Farm Bureau, National Corn Growers, Pork Producers Council, have all joined in suit against Waters of the U.S., saying that what's being done is too restrictive. It creates a great deal of chaos and extra expense for farmers when it comes to being able to use their own property. And so that's really what it is at the end, is how does this force you to do different management tactics on your land? It may or may not be the right thing for the land. It may reduce your productivity. And so a lot of it is, coming into property owners' rights, and where does it start? Where does it stop? So this has been ongoing. The rule currently is to go into effect in March, and that's why suit has been filed, is to order to stop some of this clarity that the Biden administration has recently had with, and again, this all goes through Supreme Court, in order to make things more reasonable for those who farm. So it's kind of a long-winded explanation, but again, when you have something that's been going on for 40 years, it's not really easy to chop your way through it either.
Well, I would imagine not. And I feel like that's a touchy subject for a lot of people. I mean, where is that line, and where do you cross that line on being able to use something that you own, or, there's a lot of different aspects to that. And I'd love to get the listeners' thoughts and opinions on that. Unfortunately, we're going to have our guests coming on. So if you want to come back to this topic, this conversation, you want to voice in on how you feel about waters of the United States and being able to use your own, what you own, being able to use it, or if you feel against it, give us a call on the 150 hour and we'll take your comments and discussions. But until then, we're going to get our guests all situated. That's Dan and Craig. They're from Air Cedar Parts up in Grand Forks. They'll be joining us here in about 3 to 4 minutes. So we hope that you call in with any questions and you enjoy the conversation to come. So stay tuned. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
You've heard this from Newsmax. AT&T's DirecTV just removed Newsmax from 13 million homes. AT&T owns DirecTV, and this is the second conservative channel they removed in a year. Meanwhile, DirecTV is still keeping 22 liberal news channels on. Let me tell you that I love Newsmax, and a lot of my listeners do too, and they're angry about this censorship. Newsmax is the 4th highest rated cable news channel. DirecTV isn't deplatforming liberal channels. Ron DeSantis says Newsmax was targeted and it's wrong. President Trump says AT&T and DirecTV's censorship is unacceptable. And he says you should cancel your DirecTV and AT&T services. If you're a DirecTV or an AT&T customer, call 877-NEWSMAX. They'll connect you. And contact your congressman to complain about censorship. Call 877-NEWSMAX. They'll connect you too. We oppose these woke companies. Millions are joining Newsmax fight. I am, and you should too. Show your support. Call 877-NEWSMAX now. That's 877-NEWSMAX.
A delicious glass of wine can melt away a day of stress and bring a smile to your face. Midtown Tavern Wednesday Wine Night is a fun place to get together with friends and enjoy half-price bottles of great wine and some delicious food. Midtown Tavern in Moorhead has half-price bottles of wine every Wednesday from 5 to close. So make plans to meet your friends and enjoy happy hour specials 3 to 6 and 9 to close weeknights. That's Midtown Tavern, Highway 10 East in Moorhead. See Facebook for specials.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high-commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
Get more than just a great deal. Get the Luther Advantage. Every pre-owned vehicle comes with a 60-day, 2,500-mile warranty. Every pre-owned vehicle comes with a 5-day, 500-mile return policy. Use your Luther Advantage card and save on gas, or even a car wash at any Holiday Station store. Get the Luther Advantage at Luther Family Buick GMC, corner of I-29 and 32nd Avenue South in Fargo.
Oil and natural gas help provide the things our counties and communities need. Taxes paid by the oil and natural gas industry fund schools, roads, and flood protection across North Dakota. That means we can run our farms and businesses and educate leaders for our future. It's one of the many ways oil and natural gas are making life better in North Dakota for generations. North Dakota's oil and natural gas, advancing the possibilities.
Don't you hate when you forget something important? Grandma's birthday, the password to your old laptop, or picking up little Timmy from hockey practice? It's okay, we've all been there. Let us take one thing off your mind this year with Giving Hearts Day scheduled giving. Starting January 2nd, you can give to one of hundreds of charitable causes before the big day. You can even pledge to volunteer if that's your thing. Visit givingheartsday.org and help someone in your community today.
Welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette, Readel Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Meteorologist Extraordinaire covering the northern end of the Red River Valley, Justin Storm. Sorry, Dean, I gave him a better intro today.
I see that.
Every day.
Yeah, right? It's not just today.
Well, we have guests with us today, and you guys are fortunate to have them in studio. Dan and Craig, owner and engineer from Air Cedar Parts in Grand Forks, North Dakota, have come into studio to talk about their business and what they do. So let me start with, okay, Dan is the guy who built this business. You have a listening audience here that's partially farm, but partially urban. So what's the difference between an air seeder and that drill that Grandpa used to use?
Hi, Bridgette. So, the difference would be, an air seeder would be grain, soybeans, anything in narrow row spacing. Corn is a type of a crop we want to, we want real accurate spacing. Generally, we're, 22 and 30-inch rows. So it's either a narrow row space, wheat, soybeans, like I say, and then to the wide rows.
Okay. So we wanted to make sure that people kind of knew what those differences were in equipment. But go ahead, Dean. I heard you talk.
Yeah, I was going to ask Dan, is this, obviously this is more precise. Does this save money down the road as well?
Yeah, it does. Well, we're trying to make the most use out of a certain piece of machinery, right?
Right.
So, I mean, we've taken air seeders and we've kind of made them, we're making adjustments to them where we're building that precision more into them. I hate that general thing. People call that air seeder a controlled spill. You know, it's just I don't like that phrase, and so we're trying to take the air seeder, make it a more precision piece of our planting equipment, and maybe for some guys, they won't need to have that second piece of planting machinery sitting there like their corn planter.
Mm-hmm. What percentage of farmers are using the air seeding now?
Well, I would say probably, I don't know, I would guess that, 75 at least % of all farmers that are planting small grains, that type of thing, that have to have that style of a drill are using air seeders these days.
Okay.
At least in this area. You get into southern states, or there's other parts of the country that still use a traditional, we call it a grain drill. But I mean, air seeders in this area and west are, I'd say we're probably at least 75%, probably 80-90%.
Okay. And you had kind of touched on it a little bit more with the precision in the planting, but what else or more into that? Why would you choose one over the other, or does it overly matter if you're not too concerned about how far apart you're planting?
Well, certain crops are more, let's see, what would I say? We want to have more accurate spacing on certain types of crops, right? Like corn, if you have where there's two plants or seedlings that are 2 inches apart, the one of them, they become one of them becomes more of a weed,
Right,
and
they fight for the same resource.
That's right. And so there's an instance where we want to have, picket row, spacing, they call that, where you've got 10-inch spacing or 9-inch spacing, evenly all the way across the field.
Mm-hmm.
Where seeders are more, there was just seeds flowing through these tubes, and where if they landed in groups, so like wheat and things like that, it wasn't as important. Is what we used to think, but we're starting to believe more and more in that, trying to get as close to more better stands, with the air seeders as we can now.
I see. Why is it called an air seeder? Is there any reference to that?
So an air seeder is what it does is it uses air. It uses a fan that blows. The wind goes through tubes, and what it does is there's product being metered into those tubes, and the air is what delivers the product all the way to the ground.
Okay.
Where like a traditional grain drill, they are more of there's just gravity fall. The product is being metered out, and it just drops down through a tube, and it just falls directly into the ground.
Okay.
As the guy who started it all, why'd you get started? Because if I'm not mistaken, didn't you farm, or do you still farm, and what drove you to wanting to have this business?
Yeah, Bridgette, that was it. And I still do farm, and we just, I've reduced my acres some, but it was because, at the time I was just sitting here thinking, I had to have these parts replaced on one of my drills. And I just said, that was at the time when smartphones were new, and I said, Google, a stainless steel meter replacement for an air seeder. And at the time there wasn't anything like that. And so I'm like, if I was going to replace this part, I don't want to have to be doing this every 7 or 8 years. That's about the average of the amount of time that these things last. I'm like, if we're going to make, if I'm going to replace them, I'm going to make one out of stainless steel. So I started by doing it. I did it on my drill, and that's why we did. I kind of did it I was angry that there wasn't a better fix for this, because I knew that if I did it this year, if I bought that new part, put it on, I was going to be facing the same thing in another 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we're forgetting Craig over here. We got to get Craig involved over here.
Hi.
So Craig, how did you get involved with Dan's company?
Well, I called him to buy some parts, and he offered me a job.
Okay.
I do custom seeding, and I run multiple air drills, and we're constantly modifying my own drills. And he needed more of a testing ground, I think, than what his own farm provides. So, and I was designing some parts already.
Yeah.
So we just.
Hey, Craig, could I have you get a little bit closer on that mic?
So it just became a good fit for us. We're 20 miles apart. Between both of us, we probably cover over 20,000 acres between our own drills.
Okay.
Wow.
I have 4. I think he's got 2 or 3. So we just constantly try to improve on our own equipment.
Great.
So
Great.
we're testing all the time.
So what kind of
So when it comes to production,
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Justin.
No, go ahead.
When it comes to production and manufacturing, Craig, where are you producing and how are you doing that? Because I heard you say something about metal parts, but I also know that a lot of remanufactured parts are also coming out through 3D printers and so forth. So is there a happy medium that you're using for what you're doing?
Well, when it comes to the manufacturing part, that's more of a Dan question. I'm more in the engineering part, and all of our parts are 3D printed to begin with. We run 3D printers in the engineering office, so we get to fit and see if the parts are going to work before we give them to him to have them made out of metal. But like our meters and stuff are all made in Grand Forks.
Right. And what goes into like designing parts for this equipment? I mean, where does that start and how does that process look like?
Well, I had a question asked at a farm show last week, and my answer was because we use the drill ourselves. I mean, you get frustrated enough with something that you get fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't want to be out fixing the same thing 3 times a day. I mean, so you figure out what you can do to prevent that from happening, or what can make this adjustment easier so you don't skin your knuckles and things like that. And that's what we try to do into our parts, is something that I want to put on my own drill that's going to alleviate a headache for myself.
Right. So it's basically from someone who's gone through the issues fixing it so other people don't have to experience the same exact thing. So kind of along the same lines of that, what are some of the things that you have changed or improved or maybe are working on, if those are things you can discuss or not? I'm not sure, but...
Well, we just released a whole new line of wearable parts for a 90 series roll unit to A&I. And some of the parts that make ours a little bit different than everybody else is we have facilitation for a 1/2-inch ratchet to help with ease of adjusting stuck roll units. We rotate our pins. I mean, we put some features into our pins and bushings that make it better or easier for long-term maintenance. So you're not replacing them as frequently and things like that a lot of the competitors don't have.
I see. And we're speaking with Dan and Craig from Air Cedar Parts. If you got a question you want to call in, feel free to do so. 701-293-9000. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. I got to know, is this a lot of other people out there doing similar things, making parts for this? How does the competition look and what separates your guys' parts from the competitors? So we'll touch on that and a few other things when we come back, so stay tuned.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
The Home Builders Care Foundation of Fargo-Moorhead reminds you that Giving Hearts Day is February 9th. The Home Builders Care Foundation offers scholarships to area students excelling in construction-related fields. This includes high school and post-secondary students. Your donation helps community builds such as Habitat for Humanity, building wheelchair ramps, and more. To donate, go to hbcfm.com and donate today. hbcfm.com. And thanks.
Are you suffering from neuropathy? Do you experience stabbing pain, numbness, tingling, or burning in your feet? Are you tired of sleepless nights and avoiding life due to pain? If you've been diagnosed with neuropathy or are experiencing pain or numbness in your feet, pick up the phone and call us right now before it's too late at 701-929-7545. Again, that's 701-929-7545. Neuropathy is a very serious and progressive disease where your nerves start to break down. Eventually, it leads to balance problems, falls, complete loss of independence, and it can lead to amputation. Our program addresses the underlying causes and doesn't simply mask your symptoms with medication. In fact, many patients start experiencing relief from neuropathy symptoms within weeks. There's no surgery and no use of prescription drugs. Pick up the phone right now and call 701-929-7545. Call us today at Dakota Clinic of Chiropractic at 701-929-7545 today.
At ShareHouse, we know recovery is possible. As the leader in addiction, recovery, and mental health service in the Upper Midwest, we ask that you think of ShareHouse this Giving Hearts Day. We will be expanding our Grand Forks location to provide patients with the care and privacy they need. Your donation to ShareHouse will go into creating a more nurturing environment for our patients. This Giving Hearts Day, donate to ShareHouse on or before February 9th at sharehouse.org.
Hunter Insurance Agency in Hunter, North Dakota provides insurance you can trust and count on. Whether it's crop, hail, farm, home, or auto insurance, Hunter Insurance is here to help provide peace of mind that you are well covered. Call Agent Johnny Jorgensen or visit hunterinsuranceagency.com for more information.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us on this Tuesday afternoon, 1:35 right now. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and the one and only very talented Ag Director Bridgette Readel, and our guests today, Dan and Craig from Air Cedar Parts. And we thank you for listening. If you have questions for Dan and Craig or us, feel free to give us a call. If you're a happy customer, let them know what you think about their products. That phone number is 701-293-9000. We'd all love to answer any questions that you may have. And when we went to break, we were kind of touching on what it is that Air Cedar Parts is, and we were just kind of talking off air a little bit. My first conception or my first thoughts on it was that you are manufacturing the air cedars, but you're making the parts. And someone who has been through this, they understand what it is, but a lot of our listening audience is urban and they don't have a lot of experience or deal with agriculture, or they moved up here for other reasons and they're not familiar with it. And the reference I was thinking of, it's kind of like an aftermarket part for your vehicle or something you buy extra to replace that's better. And then, is that a good way of putting it?
Yeah, Justin. So we kind of have the word that we've given our parts. They're not really aftermarket, they're extra market. That's we kind of call that, kind of laugh about that a little bit. Yeah, because they're really the parts that we've designed. We've put extra into, really, anything, because like we say, anyone can make a replacement part of an original, but we saw there was room for improvement really on all the parts that we made. We just added extras, things that would either extend the life, make it, ease of adjustment or serviceability. There was also, add some things to this, Craig. Wouldn't you say that
installation?
Installation, yes. Yep.
Just trying to get stretch out. These drills are expensive.
Right.
And try to make them last longer.
Right. And these parts that you're doing, they have a longer lifespan than maybe just buying the stock replacement for it. And I'm assuming you got better performance out of it, and that goes into the engineering that you've done. Is that correct?
Yeah. Our bushings are substantially bigger than OEM. We have grease channels to help where our pins stay in lubed, where OEM does not. There's a lot of thought process going into make them last longer.
Right. And Bridgette had just sent me a message. You guys are basically souping up air cedars out here across the area, and I thought that was a really funny way of putting that, because that's basically what you're doing. You're taking these products, you're making it better, and I'm imagining it's got to be affordable, at least compared to what the original parts pricing is. And what's the competition look like out there for your business? Is there much competition? Are they lacking behind? Are they not following in on, really improving these parts? They're just kind of sending out one model and then the next model?
Well, you know how I always explain ourselves, the difference between what we do and what our competitors are, Justin, is that I always said really everything, there's room for improvement on everything that we build, and we saw going back to when we were designing a stainless steel meter housing for an air seeder. I was like, okay, so I could either just take the old one off, make it out of stainless steel and call it good, or else I said, there was about half of the problem with the meter housing that we were taking off. It was that it was made out of aluminum and it needed to be made out of stainless steel. Mm-hmm. The other half was its design. At that time, it was about 20-year-old design, and I said there's about 3 or 4 places that there's some, if we made these changes while if we're gonna recreate this thing out of stainless steel, let's take and make these changes in its design. And so that's kind of like what we do. We take any part that if we're going to try and make a replacement part, we see what's all the where could we improve this thing. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we do. We make changes. Really, there is nothing that's been taken where we knock the old one out and make the new one just the same and put it back in. Everything that we make has had a lot of improvement made in and so that's the difference between what we do at Air Seeder Parts and what a competitor would do.
Right, because you're thinking about the where this product is going to be going and the the lifespan, the application. You guys come from farming backgrounds, and it's we're making farming parts for farmers from people that farm.
Right.
That's
great.
What's one of the biggest differences between us and everybody else is we actively farm. And then every spring we're both in drills. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can call us anytime and we're more likely in a tractor in the month of May. So
that brings up a question for me, Dan, for you guys. Do you make field calls? Let's say you've got someone, a neighbor or someone who does business with you and says, I have an idea. Will you go on out and see what their idea is and see if you can improve on that?
Yeah, and I mean, that does, I can think of a couple things right now, that it was my neighbor that would come in and say, hey, I'm having this trouble in this area. What do you think we could do here? I mean, you guys are the experts, help us. And, Craig and I are actively working on some of those ideas right now. Yeah, it does. We do that, and my pickup is always. My pickup's sitting on the headland of the field that I'm planting a lot of times, Bridgette, but it's always full of tools. And I've been, there's a lot of times I've got to just get to the headland, shut my tractor off, and head somewhere, because if there's ever an idea or someone's having an issue with something, that afternoon or late evening, I might be out in Montana somewhere, so that's part of my job. Yeah, we do, we do take, get ideas from, we're sitting in a farm show a lot of times, and I'll have someone come to me and say, I'm having difficulty in this area. Is there anything, have you ever heard of anybody try this? We're, we're the first ones that I would say would try and say, hey, well, why don't we work on something and we'll come and try it on your drill. That's kind of how we do it.
Well, I know the two of you happen to be on your way to a farm show in South Dakota. We just happened to rope you into stopping on your way down I-29. Yeah. So I also happen to know, after visiting with Joan last week at Agronomy on Ice, that it's not as though farmers are going to call you up and come to your storefront to purchase. So how do they actually get a hold of the parts that you guys work on?
Well, and that's how we used to do things up until about 3 years ago. We were I'd tell everyone, back the pickup up, and that was kind of the, at a farm show, and we were, we actually did our own retailing, but then as time went on, we started selling to our local John Deere dealers, and then pretty soon we had something like 14 groups of John Deere stores that were selling our product for us. And so then it kind of evolved into, let's just sell our product directly through A&I Products, which is one of John Deere's. It's a division of John Deere, and that's their aftermarket parts division. So that's how all of our product is sold now. And so you could go to any John Deere dealer in the entire world, or A&I Products dealer, and be able to purchase what we what we sell.
Oh, super cool.
And so, Craig, one last question for me. And actually, you get to see me today, and I'm not dressed, so you can only see my eyes like when we were out on the lake last week. I mean, it was a nice day, but when I came in, people thought it was a little purple Pillsbury doughboy who just wandered into their ice house. So, first of all, I hope you had a great time last week.
No, it was fun on the lake.
What's the sweet? And what's the most common question that you get from other farmers, or the most common part replacement that you work on?
Well, that's kind of this year we have a lot of new parts being introduced. So most of our topics this year are based on our new wear parts for the John Deere single disc drill. I would guess last year was more on some meter stuff and blowers. So it kind of depends on what the new product is that we're introducing, is what the topic is going to be, I guess.
Okay. So there's still more to come, really.
There's a lot more to come.
What would you say has been one of your more proud moments? And this will go for both of you, but I'll ask Craig first. On something that you worked on, you engineered, you got this thing ready to go, and then Dan took over and he's got it ready, and you put it on the machine and it works great. What's one of those big aha, or I'm really proud of this, that we were able to get this accomplished and it works great?
Can't say yet.
Can't say yet. All right.
Secrets.
I guess that's probably the same thing.
So, no, I mean, there's been a lot of those moments. And I mean, probably, I guess probably when the meter was first debuted, it was something I remember. We showed it at the Minot KMOT Ag Days in spring of 2017, and I remember standing there next to this thing, and I always think that it was a proud moment for me. We just took something like 25 orders. It was and I always explain to people I had to, it wasn't an idea really. People didn't really understand what it was. I had to have a banner of a John Deere air seeder behind, because people would look at what I was standing next to, and then they'd look up at the banner, and they'd look back at the meter stand again, and they'd look back at there, and then all they'd do is they'd point, this is for that, and I'm like, yeah, that was and because it took that picture. Because they didn't recognize what it was used for, and we came home from that, and that spring we had something like 25 of these parts on drills. That was probably that's probably been like some of the things that I'm most proud of.
And for those who are unfamiliar with the air seeders, the technology, some of the terminology that goes into it, what's the meter on the air seeder?
The meter is what takes any product, if it's seed or fertilizer, and what it does is it meters, it sends a measured amount down into the airstream, and then the air seeder, the air system takes it and places it in the ground. So it does a measured amount, like if you wanted to do 100 pounds to the acre of fertilizer, it meters that fertilizer into the airstream, and then the airstream takes it from there. So it's it's that portion. So it's the bottom of. Everyone talks about these, like a John Deere air seeder is recognizable because it's a yellow tank. We've seen them in the fields before, and they all have this on the very bottom of that plastic tank is the meter, and that's what failed. And that was made out of aluminum and mild steel, and we made it out of stainless steel. And then the fertilizer and the seed treatments don't affect the stainless steel. So that's what was the kind of the key to what we're doing.
Cool. Okay, really interesting. One of the next steps you guys will have to do with the business, you have to get in contact with Giant Software Farming Simulator, have them add your parts into the game so you can put the extra parts on your air seeders that you purchase in the game.
I have been waiting for that to come up, that you got to be in the Farming Simulator game.
I do a lot of the Farming Simulator. I don't do it in real life, but I'll sit down and I'll put my hours in on the computer. So I got a little knowledge into the farming, but not a whole lot. Well, guys, I want to thank you very much for stopping on your way down on I-29 down to South Dakota to, explain to us what you do as well, our listeners. And if anyone listening, they want to get in contact with you, they want to check out what it is that you have to offer, or any social media platforms, maybe newsletters where you talk about some of the products that are coming out, where can they get that information?
Our website's easy. It's airseederparts.com. I'll tell a little quick story about that. That was how the whole thing started. We were trying to figure, we needed a domain name, airseederparts.com. And that was even before we named the business.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then once we saw it was going to become a business, we just dropped the .com. Just a funny tidbit about it. But no, you just airseederparts.com. That'll show you what we have, and in the bottom of our webpage, there's other ways to get a hold of us.
Awesome. Well, we'll throw that link on our description for our video when we get this uploaded up on Facebook as well as YouTube for you guys. But again, thank you very much for stopping by. We hope you have the safe travels on your way down to South Dakota, and the egg show down there goes well for you guys.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Justin.
All right.
Well, thanks, Bridgette.
Thanks, guys.
When we come back, we got a few more ag topics that we're going to get to. We'd love for you to join in on the conversation. And as always, we'll take one last check on that forecast. So stay tuned. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
Attention business owners, did you know that burglary and theft in Fargo is nearly 2 times higher than the national average? Walmart recently said that if theft doesn't slow down, they'll have to raise prices and shut down stores. Target projects they'll lose $600 million in net profits this year due to theft. As a business owner, you need to protect your business and your profits. You need a security solution. And right now, for a limited time only, 702 Communications is offering business security solutions that will protect you, your business, your employees, and your profits. To find out if you qualify for a 702 Communications business security solution, call right now at 218-304-8676. Again, that's 218-304-8676. Imagine the peace of mind you'll have knowing that your security solution is monitoring your business 24/7, 365. That peace of mind is priceless. So call now at 218-304-8676. Again, 218-304-8676.
The famous chips, the potato chip, the chocolate chip, the computer chip, the poker chip, the paint chip, and the windshield chip. Glass Doctor of Fargo Moorhead wants to remind you that the difference in temperature outside and inside your vehicle can make a little chip grow into a real budget buster. So make your repair or replacement appointment today at Glass Doctor of Fargo Moorhead. Call or go online at glassdoctor.com/Fargo. That's glassdoctor.com/Fargo.
Call the Glass Doctor, we'll fix your paint.
Moorhead boys hockey, Moorhead girls hockey. Tonight, the playoff action for the Spud girls as they get ready to take on Sartell. The Spuds play their toughest Section 8 opponent of the season as they take on the Rogers Royals. Tonight's game's right here on 970 WDAY, 93.1 FM. You'll find it to be a great hockey matchup between 4 very good hockey teams, and it all starts at 5 o'clock tonight. The Spuds hockey doubleheader on 970 WDAY, 93.1 FM.
Hi, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki. You know weather is always changing. So if it's the morning commute with Bonnie and friends or the drive home with Jay Thomas, join Justin, Storm, and myself to get you the current conditions and future conditions you need throughout the day. Also, don't forget our LRC Spring and Summer Outlook, live with Jay Thomas March 7th from 2 to 5 here on News Talk Radio 970 WDAY.
Grains and livestock were mixed to lower today. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Risfit with this closing market. Corn and soybeans started the day pretty sideways. However, they just continued a descent down there. While wheat traded mixed for most of the day, Chicago down and Kansas City and Minneapolis showing a bit of support. Now, in tomorrow's WASDE report, trade is looking for corn to carry out at 1.266 billion bushels on a range of 1.2 to 1.335 billion, with world stocks to decline slightly from last month. Ethanol margins have support from natural gas, while blender margins rebound a little bit with unleaded this morning. The daily export wire for corn was quiet after yesterday's action. Basis has another round of softening in the central to west, but remains above average. We saw soybeans leak lower today with some pre-WASDE position squaring. The daily export wire will need to stay active, but we have been quiet to start the week. On the report tomorrow, trade is going to be looking for domestic carryout at 211 million bushels on a range of 176 to 230, with world stocks down slightly from last month. The higher protein wheats led the way today, along with firmer spread action at the upper end of the recent range, with trade looking to consolidate the recent move higher pre-report. Southern Plains will warm up with the more significant precipitation remaining to the east, with more potential the second week with little change to the Black Sea short term. Matif wheat values are firmer as well, helping support some action, while the stronger dollar limits upside. Let's get a look at the closing market numbers. March corn down 5 at 674. March beans down 6 at 15.15 and a quarter. Bean meal March down 7.60 a ton at 481.40. Bean oil March up 158 at 60.89. Wheat Chicago March down a half at 749 and 3/4. Kansas City March up 9 3/4 at 885 and 3/4. And the March Minneapolis wheat, that's down just 1 at 916 and a half. Live cattle February down a quarter at 160.57. Feeders March down 50 at 187.20. And the February lean hogs, they're up 32 at 75.37. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Ristvet.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us this afternoon on this mild afternoon. Just a few cirrus clouds out there and gorgeous, gorgeous
Why
day.
are you always so serious, Dean?
You know, is there anything I can throw at you?
You know, there's lots of things that you could.
There you go. That's light enough; it won't hurt you.
Wow, that hurt, Dean.
Yeah. We've got a great day out there today. Get out and enjoy it if you can. And temperatures will top out today in probably low to mid 30s across the area. And we're gonna have another warm day tomorrow before things cool down on Thursday. A little light snow Thursday morning. Shouldn't be a big deal. We're more concerned about next week. We've got pretty quiet weather all the way through the weekend and even into early next week. But, you know, and again, you can follow along. We've got our LRC calendar posted on our website, WDAYradionow.com. And the LRC model did have the middle of the month painted as a potential big storm. The question was, will Arctic air win out and shove that storm track south? And in reality, I think this one is going to be a closer hit than the last cycle where these went to our south. Now, the heaviest snow still could go to our south, but I posted an article on our website just to show the difference in just 24 hours on our long-range models and how they can really change things up. So last night's model run, one of them, had over 2 feet of snow in the FM area. In fact, blanketing much of the state, really. And this morning's model run took that all the way through South Dakota and southern Minnesota, a swath of about 6 to 15 inches of snow, with the FM area right on the northern end of maybe a 3 to 4 inch band, and then the further north and west, you go nothing at all. So it generally went from painting about 28 inches of snow in Bismarck last night's model run to little or none on this morning's run. So that's why you can never rely on those long-term models this far out. But you can rely on the LRC saying there's going to be a disruptive storm in the midsection of the country. I had an emailer or Facebook. Darcy had a question about traveling to Green Bay next week and leaving on Thursday. Exactly. Probably not a good idea. Even if this story, then just that's not going to be a good idea. Yeah, just not. So stay tuned to the forecast for next week because it's going to be a big storm. Somewhere in the Dakotas into Minnesota, and we're always seem to be on the fence of these storms. You know, we're never right smack dab in the bullseye. So,
you know, it's just the curse. Everything just goes around us.
Oh, that's not always the case.
More times than not, it sure seems like it.
But keep up on if you have any travel plans for the middle of next week, Wednesday onward, keep up to date on the forecast because, again, the LRC painted this out before any of our long-range models even picked up on it. Now our long-range models are picking up on it. But, again, it's still 10 days away before this thing enters the area.
Mm-hmm. Bridgette, you had an ag story you wanted to share with us, too. Isn't that correct?
I do, as we wind down our hour today, somewhat of a little bit breaking news, if you will, and that is American Crystal Sugar announced yesterday that they, for those who don't know, they own the factory at Sidney, Montana, and that's called Sidney Sugars, and they are going to close that factory at the end of the 23 growing season. A lot of reasons for that. It is a smaller operation. It is an older factory facility, so I'm sure investments in improvements would be cost prohibitive, but they're down to only about 18,000 contracted acres. At their high, they were somewhere in the 45,000 acre range, so it's down significantly. And Unfortunately, that's a loss to the community with jobs at the factory. It's a change in cropping systems for a number of folks there in the Yellowstone Valley. Those employees are also, many are being offered severance packages or the opportunity to join American Crystal operations here in the Red River Valley. That'll be a change for the Sidney, Montana area, but it does in fact happen when efficiencies do have to be gained sometimes.
See,
so just a heads up.
Any speculation or ideas on why the acres have gone down so significantly? I think you had said somewhere around 40,000. They're down to 18 now.
Yeah, and I think understand that Yellowstone Valley, there is some irrigation there, but not a lot. And so dryland sugar beets, especially in a more arid climate, can be a little tougher to do. Also, they've only got the one factory, so when you need enough beets to keep that factory operating at peak efficiency. And when you go down that many acres, you might not be as efficient as you once were. One nice thing about that area is they had less instances of leaf disease and some less bug problems because they didn't have as many acres as we had over here. So it's kind of a trade-off of things that could happen.
Potential if they're shutting down, and you had mentioned that they might send some people they're offering the opportunity to come work up over here. Would we maybe have to pick up that other 18,000 acres? Would more people maybe need to get involved, or would people need to plant more?
I think that'll be a discussion for American Crystal Sugar if they want to open up more beet shares in order to compensate for that drop in acres. They may choose to do that as they plan for the 2024 growing season.
I see. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's interesting, and we'll probably have to return to that conversation tomorrow or at some point throughout the upcoming weeks, because that sounds like an interesting little topic right there. But that'll do it for us here on Weather and Ag in Focus today. We thank you for listening and watching us on Facebook and YouTube Live. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM, Fargo-Moorhead.